Dr. Ma, Dr. Bischof, meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, es ist für mich eine große Freude, hier in Stadt München, im Land Bayern zu sein. Und ich bedanke Ihnen ganz herzlich für diese Einladung. Yes, it is always a great pleasure for me to be here in Bavaria, to be in Germany, and particularly today to talk about something that I think you know by now is very dear to my heart. Environmental protection is not just another challenge. It is the main challenge for years to come, the one that determines all the others, the one that will decide whether or not our existence on Earth remains possible, at least under the conditions that we now know. Long-term environmental protection is a matter of survival for the human species. It is already a development issue for all countries for which access to essential resources is a little more difficult each year. It is a health issue for millions of men and women subjected to even more severe weather conditions and consequently forced to live in unhealthy conditions. It is also a security issue when climatic threats lead to the danger of global migratory movements. It is finally a peace issue, with sustainable energy supplies becoming central to international stakes. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is not an issue for a century in the distant future. It is for a century that has already begun. A century that sees the multiplication of natural catastrophes and alarming facts each year. We know the facts: deforestation, rising water levels, extinction of species. The figures we hear every day speak to our immediate realities. Temperatures are rising with the same effects on our fragile planet as for a feverish body. 1 degree more can shake the entire organism. And the temperature is rising very rapidly. I've already crossed forests that no longer exist. I have walked on ice that remains only a memory. I've seen living creatures of species our grandchildren will only see, unfortunately, in books. Even water, symbol of life, water, our common asset, is becoming scarcer every day. Its distribution is poor, and in addition, it may, in some cases, carry disease and pollution. Having been fortunate enough to be born into a family that was very much aware of such issues, I understood, I think, at a young age, that nothing I might undertake would be more meaningful if I did not do my utmost to help save this planet, our planet. This is why I wish to take action as soon as I acceded into my new position, acting as a head of state, a state that is distinctive in its size and visibility, but acting also, and maybe foremost, as an inhabitant of this planet Earth, a man faced with an emergency and a situation of emergency. This is the meaning of the foundation that I created a little over 2 years ago. Through this foundation and through international activities, I have met many world leaders, political and economic decision makers. And I've observed that many of us share the same will to action. This is not the guarantee of success, but it offers the possibility of endeavoring and believing. I've also measured how much certain countries have already shouldered their responsibilities. And here I'd like to take a moment to pay special tribute to your country, Germany, which has had a pioneering role for several years now, and whose Chancellor, Angela Merkel, is a model in this field. I also have in mind the ambitious climate package adopted just this summer, which plans to invest 313 billion euros in renewable energy by 2020. This law is part of a profound dynamic structure. In 2007, such renewable energy sources have helped Germany reduce CO2 emissions, I'm sure you know this, by some 115 million metric tons. This is the result of a concerted effort shared with all levels of society. This effort is not limited to domestic stakes. For those who are concerned about the future of the poles, as I am, and I'd like to highlight your country's scientific efforts at the origin of nearly 60% of the projects that are conducted right now during the International Polar Year, which will end next year, through its universities, research institutions, museums, and other federal structures. For all these reasons, I'm very pleased with the contacts and partnerships my foundation has set up right here in Germany, and in particular with the Deutsche Stiftung Umweltschutz and the Regional Conservation Foundation of the state of Saxony. All these efforts, all these initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, are proof of the advances your country has made in addressing a challenge that also offers, as you know, a fabulous opportunity for development and progress. We know it may seem costly to launch investments today with so remote an outcome. We know it may seem futile to commit ourselves for distant lands whose practices, alas, are far behind those of European leading countries like Germany. But one of the revolutions imposed by climate change is precisely to force us to think globally. This is true both geographically and chronologically. We will undertake nothing if we think only now. We can achieve nothing if we take action only here. Our main responsibility is to show solidarity with others, our children, our fellows, elsewhere and tomorrow. For then, if we are ambitious enough, the fight against climate change will also be an incomparable growth vector. We must think of the fantastic investments we are currently engaging in research on these issues. We must think of the 800,000 jobs that are foreseen by the year 2030 through the German climate program alone that I just mentioned. In your Chancellor's words, it has been our experience that those who saw an irreconcilable conflict between economy and ecology were wrong. Now, the two must be combined intelligently that would benefit all of humanity. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the nature of this challenge facing us. Devising sustainable progress must not be a renunciation. Inventing genuine universal growth must show solidarity in the service of humanity. Growth cannot be achieved at the expense of future generations, or those who already suffer so much from this inequitable world. This may sound unrealistic, but it is the only possible solution. For them, of course, but also for us. Indeed, if we are unable to provide the necessary impulse, if we are unable to make such efforts in the long term, if we are unable to build new forms of solidarity in time and space, we will be the first victims of our blindness. This is the responsibility of all of us, from economic players, civil society, and political leaders alike. Our challenge is to find an answer together in a complementary and concerned way. For economic players, it means adopting a sustainable global rationale with a vision that goes beyond immediate profits and inventing future growth. For large organizations, it means acting in the field and tireless striving for mobilization. For political leaders, implementing consistent national and international rules from the smallest states all the way to the United Nations. A daunting task for all of us, but I think a most exhilarating one. As Al Gore wrote, the climate crisis offers us the chance to experience what few generations in history have had the privilege of experiencing. A generational mission, a compelling moral purpose, a shared cause. To embrace a genuine moral and spiritual challenge. I thank you very much. Vielen Dank, meine Damen und Herren.
Hoheit, vielen Dank für Ihre bewegende Rede. Ich möchte jetzt eine kurze Einfügung machen. Und zwar, ich möchte mich bei dem Mann bedanken, der das alles hier ermöglicht hat, dessen Idee es war und der es vermittelt hat, Herrn Dieter Heißig und der Familie Neckermann, die auf diese Idee hier gekommen sind und das vermittelt haben. Dann möchte ich noch einen ganz besonderen kleinen jungen Mann vorstellen. Das ist der Felix Finkbeiner. Er ist der Gründer von The Planet hier in Deutschland, für die Schüler, eine Organisation unter der Schirmherrschaft Fürst von Monaco. Er wird Ihnen jetzt selber was über sich erzählen, denke ich. Schön, dass du da bist, Felix.
Dear Excellence, we're Lolly colleagues. We're both supporting the UNEP and we're both planting trees. You started the 1 billion tree campaign and with two ladies, Wangari Maathai and Queen Sylvia from Sweden, and I started the 1 million tree campaigns with my two sisters, Francisca and Florina. When I went to Norway to the UNEP Children Conference, I got elected as a junior board member. I often get invited to presentations because I plant trees, but I don't talk about planting trees, I talk about climate justice. Scientists told us that we are polluting the air with 4 tons per head in average CO2 in a year. But if we go on like this, the sea level will rise by 7 meters, and 40% of the world's population will have to move and live somewhere else. So we have to go down in half. An American who's polluting the air with 20 tons of CO2 will have to go down to 2 tons, and German who's polluting the air with 11 tons will also have to go down to 2 tons, and an African with who's polluting a half a ton can go up. But if the African can sell his 1.5 ton of CO2, which he doesn't use, and we can buy it, so we're allowed to pollute more. Yeah. So, and each tree we are planting is a symbol for climate justice. My question was, if you, Excellence, will help us children that every tree you plant and we plant will be a symbol for climate justice.
Yes, it will be.